Welcome back to another video, and the third video on the engine rebuild that I've had done on my 2005 987 Boxster S. Today I'm going to be going through the costs of the engine rebuild, as well as giving you a breakdown of the invoice that I received, letting you know what needed to be done and how much it all cost. So here I have the invoice that I received from AMS Porsche over in Luton. So there's a lot to go through on this invoice. So starting off, I've got the first expense was £2,987, and that is for what they call a basic engine rebuild, which is parts and labours at that fixed price that I found on the eBay listing. This includes the main bearings, the big end bearings which went wrong, timing change, engine gaskets set, the cylinder gaskets, spark plugs, AOS, which is the air oil separator, which is a common issue that does go wrong on these, so I know that that's not going to go wrong in the future. That also includes 1 litre of power steering fluid, all the engine oil, which is 5W40, which Angus recommended because that is what they use in the Porsche Classic range on things like the 996, 986 as well. With this car coming up to 17 years old, in another couple of years, or I believe they are in the process of doing so, declaring this car a classic, as soon as they do that, Porsche then recommend using that 5W40 oil. So well, they're one step ahead of the game, really, already putting classic oil in this car. All the coolant, conrod bolts, cylinder head bolts, and the crankshaft washers, that all came to on the invoice it says zero, because it was all included in that initial quote of £2,987. Going forward from there, something that I did want to have done while the engine was out, as I'm not going to get another opportunity to do so, is to upgrade the IMS. This has been upgraded to an EPC ceramic IMS bearing. That came to a cost of £492.50. So the damage that was done to the engine as a result of this bearing spinning was to the crankshaft. This needed to be replaced. It was replaced with a used crankshaft, which did give me those significant savings. It was all within tolerance and unscored. This cost £1,500. Going forward from there, we had things like the IMS chain tensioner, which needed to be done as I've upgraded the IMS. The timing change needed to be done. Some guide rails. This car has also, while the engine was out, had a new clutch put in. The last thing that I did have a chat with Angus about was a low temperature thermostat. I did have a read online about why people do put these in to prevent that issue of bore scoring in the engine. It's quite common knowledge that bore score doesn't tend to happen on the 3.2s, but there is always that potential. For the price of £45.98, that low temperature thermostat could be installed, as it was an easy part to do so, especially while the engine's out. I thought when I'm spending this much money for the sake of 50 quid, put it in. So the amount of time it took for Angus to have the engine out, rebuilt, back in the engine and ready to go, from me giving the go ahead, I think it was 2.5 weeks. They were incredibly busy at the time. Normally they say it could take about 10-ish days, just depending on their workload. So there were 1 or 2 advisories on this invoice as well, of things that I might want to look at in the future. The brakes were corroded, but that was, I believe, a result of it sitting on my driveway for those 8 weeks, and then I didn't drive it to get there. I put it on the trailer, so really those brakes hadn't been used and they had that layer of rust on them. That now, especially now that I've started driving the car, that's gone, so that's fine. The coolant crossover pipes at the front were corroded, not leaking, but they were corroded. That is something that does go wrong on these cars, so it is something that I will look into in the future. to future-proof the car. One of the shock absorbers had a light misting to it, nothing major, and as I already knew, the exhaust was blowing. That has since been changed with a Top Gear exhaust from eBay that I fitted myself. Video on that to come. So the grand total for this bill from AMS, the labour cost £3,267. The parts cost £2,842.71, and that's all before VAT. The total cost for an engine rebuild on this car came to £7,331.64. This was actually better than what I expected. I heard best case scenario, £6,000. Worst case scenario was open-ended. I did speak to one or two specialists prior to going to Angus, and they just advised me, get another one. Don't bother, because the cost of rebuilding an engine could outweigh the cost of this car. If there was bore score in the car, I did inquire about getting Nicosil lined cylinders to eradicate the potential for any further bore score. If I were to do that, it would have added another 8 weeks onto the wait time, as well as it would have brought the total to, it would have cost another £6,000 plus VAT to do that. But yes, there is a warranty on this car for 12,000 miles or 12 months. So that put my mind at rest as well, meaning that if anything else did go wrong with the car, I'd be able to just give Angus a call, which I have done on 1 or 2 occasions just to get some advice. Just dropped him a WhatsApp message and he's always been able to help. But that is a breakdown of the costs on the engine rebuild of this car. If you've learned anything, if you're going through the same thing, do let me know in the comments. And for plenty more videos on this car, please do like and subscribe, as I'll be coming back with plenty more videos. Thank you all.